Let's learn how to use an amazing tool called Google Keep. Google Keep is one of the apps in your Google Workspace account, so you've all got it for free. And basically, it lets you create notes or lists or reminders or more. It's really similar to something like a Padlet or even a Pinterest, or if you use the Notes app on your iPhone, it's very similar to that as well. It's just a place to stay organized. It's a great tool for educators. It's a great tool for students, and it can help you organize your tasks. You can even collaborate with others and just sort of enhance your organization. So let's dive in. All right, first let's just talk about how to find it. On a desktop computer, you just log into your Google account and you can come over to the waffle. If you click on the waffle, it will be an icon there. You might have to scroll down to find it, but I promise you it's there. It looks like it has a little light bulb in the middle of it. So there's Google Keep, and I can open it that way. Just to show you, another way that you could get there is to type keep.google.com into any web browser. So if I open another web browser and I type keep.google.com, it'll come up that way too. So whatever your preferred way is, I'm a waffle lover, so I go to the waffle. All right, so let's dive into how to use Google Keep for taking notes and all kinds of things. It's really simple. To start a note, you can just start typing here. So if I wanted to say, do lesson plans, I can do that. You can see up here, it's prompting me to make a title. So maybe this is my to-do list, and this is something that I wanted to put in there as far as the note. And if that was all I wanted on that note, I could close it. And it appears almost like a Post-it note on a big bulletin board. That's kind of how you can think of Keep. You're putting Post-it notes to stay organized. But there's so much more, and I want to show you lots of things that you can do with it besides basic note-taking. To edit any note that you've ever made, you can just hover on it and you can see that we have a lot of options here. So let's go through some of those options. First of all, if I want to pin the note, that means it'll keep it in sort of this first place. Of course, this will fill up with all kinds of things on my page as I continue to add more to my Google Keep. So if I want to pin it to the top, I just click here and it will always stay near the top. If I want to set reminders, maybe instead of a to-do list, or for my to-do list, this is really time sensitive. I can say remind me, and it will remind me whenever I say, later today, tomorrow, next week, but I usually go to pick date and time, and you can customize it. So you can pick any time, and you can even pick a place. So if you've got Google Keep on your cell phone, which I highly recommend, that's where I use it most, is to take notes on the go on my cell phone. Go ahead and get that app for yourself. You can even tell it to pick the place where you're going to be. All right, let's come back. We can collaborate. So if I wanted to collaborate on lesson plans with someone else, or if I had a note that indicated, some sort of a collaborative project, I can click on that and I can add anybody else here, and then we'll both be on that note. Now, just a disclaimer, they're not going to have access to your entire Google Keep. It will just be to whatever's on that note. So you can drop links in there. There's all kinds of planning things that you can do just on it's like sharing a piece of scrap paper with somebody and using it to brainstorm. It's a really good tool for that. All right, let's look at the other tools. We can change the color, which is really fun. And I use this to customize and categorize things for myself. So there's all these pastel colors here. If I choose this one, you can see they'll just change color. That's a nice way to set up some categorization for yourself or make things stand out. If I want to remove the color, I click here. And they also have some pretty backgrounds. So you can see, I think that's a spaghetti, and here's sort of a rainbow kind of a thing. If I click off, that will stay. And if I want to go back to edit it, remember if I click here, it will turn it off. So let's just make that one a light yellow. All right. So also we can add images to this, and I'll come back to this a little bit later, but you can choose any image from your desktop and put that on simply by clicking right there. You can also archive it, which means you're taking it out of view, but it's still retrievable if you search for it. So if you had one that said lesson plans, week of November 3rd to the 7th, right? When you're done with that one, you might want to archive it so it won't appear on this dashboard anymore. But next year in November, you might want to bring that back up. So you would just come up here and search the word November, and anything associated with that word will come up, and you'll be able to retrieve that, even though it's almost like sort of deleted, but not really. Archive's a great thing. And of course, whenever you see 3 dots, which I always call the snowman, there's more in there. So if you click there, lots of things. This is where I can delete my note. I can add a label, which I'll talk about in just a minute. We can add drawings. I can make a copy or duplicate this note. So if it was a lesson plan one that I sort of had a format on and I wanted to duplicate it every week, I could do that and then just change some elements on there. Check boxes. This is one of my favorite things, and I'll show you a cool use for this in just a minute. I can also copy this over to a Google Doc. So if I wanted to put a bunch of my little Post-it notes or sticky notes on a Google Doc, I can copy it directly over there, and I can also check a version history to see the changes that I've made to it over time. So there are lots that you can do on here. Let's dive into some of the, actually, let's make one more note and then we'll dive into some of the cooler features. So again, to take a note, on the desktop version, just here where it says take a note, I can click right into here. Notice I've got the checkboxes, the drawing tool, and the image to begin with, and I'll show you more about that in a minute. But to take a note, let's just say this is, oh gosh, I want to pick up my dry cleaning, and I want to call this one personal. Once that's in there, just to keep personal a little different, maybe I'll make the background color of that a light blue. Right? And so maybe that will be for all of my personal things. And maybe I want to make some check boxes because I have several personal things. So I'll click the snowman and I'll click show check boxes. And now it's giving me the opportunity to list items. This is one of my favorite things because you can put the check boxes there and then as you complete them, you can check them off. So maybe I also need to buy groceries and I want to, I don't know, schedule a doctor visit, okay, and then close. So now I've got 2 notes on my Google Keep. All right, let me show you some other fun things that you can do with Google Keep. Okay, it's a big visual change, but what I've done is I've popped over to my Washington Township one because I wanted to show you how I've organized my Google Keep, my new Google Keep for this year. I really work best when I have headers for my notes, and I am a checklist to-do list person. So I just made each of these images in Canva. And then I attach them to the top of a note. And when I have things to learn, for instance, I'll click on the note that I created, and then I add checkboxes and I can list them. So every time if I wanted to learn how to do learn a certain website, I could type in www.website.com, right? And that would be there for me to come back to and learn. And I'll keep these here and I'll check them off as I do them. So you see when I click off, it's saved there. I really like organizing myself in this way. Now, those will all be at the top. These are the section headers that I found work for me. And down below, I'll just have random notes. It's almost like in Google Drive when you have all your folders at the top, and then you've got unfiled things at the bottom. That's how I choose to stay organized. And so I just wanted to show you that. I made each of these in Canva. So it's just an image and I'll show you how to do one of these. So if I was going to add one more header, I could come here to new note with image. And then it will take me out to I had these saved on the desktop, right? So I'll just re-add this one. So I could click and add this one and I'll say open. And it puts it up at the top. I put it up at the top for a second, and then I can click on that and I can start adding things to it. So this one I would say, my other to-do list. And down here, I want to make it have check boxes. They're not there, so I would click on the snowman, click show check boxes, and now I've got it set up the way I like to have it set up. You'll notice the other ones were all staying up at the top, and you'll remember that that's because I pinned them. So those will always be at the top of my Google Keep so that I can get to them quickly. And anything I haven't pinned will stay down here below. So that's how this is set up. There's one more thing I've got to show you, and that is labels, and I use them all the time because they're fantastic. So let's take a look at labels. To demonstrate labels, I've created a bunch of other kind of silly things down at the bottom, and you can see I've done a little bit of color coding. So if you can see, the things that I've put in purple are sort of district programs that I want direct links to. So I've made them purple, and that's one way to categorize. And then anything in orange are recipes that I've added. So I'm collecting some recipes in here. Wanted to point out that, yep, you can even add a photo easily, right, using that photo button. So I just copy pasted this photo of mashed potatoes in there. Also wanted to show that you can use emojis in here. So if you want those to be part of your labels, you can include those as well by clicking Windows period on your keyboard, and it brings up your emoji keyboard, and then you can pop any of those in there. But I also wanted to show this. So I've added a couple of labels to these. So I've got labels called recipes, and I've got labels called soup. So creamy tortellini soup, I decided I wanted it double labeled. I wanted it to be in recipes and soups, and this is going to help me find it later when I have 2 million things in my Google Keep. Over here, I've added slow cooker pot roast, and I've just added recipes. I didn't add soup because it's not a soup, but perhaps I wanted to add another label. I can click on the snowman and come down to change labels, and you can see it's already under recipes, but I also want to have a new category called comfort foods. I can just tell it to create comfort foods, and now I've got a new label. This is now categorized in 2 different ways, right? Natasha's meatloaf, what do I want that to be? I would go to add labels, and because I've already created, it would go under comfort foods and recipes, right? And under mom's mashed potatoes, let's do one more. We would say add label, and this is definitely, that's a comfort food and recipe, and so on. For these over here, maybe I want to create a new label, add label, and I would call those district website links or some such thing. I have to click create it, and now you'll see that it shows up there. Why are labels cool? Because when you have a ton of Google Keep notes in here, you can always come to the search bar at the top, and you can search for it that way. Look what it brings up. It brings up my labels right here. So if I want to look in comfort foods or district website links or recipes, all I have to do is click there, and anything that had that tag on it will automatically pop up. So in my personal Gmail, I've used this sometimes to keep passwords or to store photos and things like that, and I use recipes or I use labels a lot. So I hope that helps with some organizational things. I'll just click back on notes to get home. And again, I really like it for note keeping, for organization, for collaborating. I like creating the headers at the top for organization. I use this on my phone more than I do on my computer. So it works on phones. It works on your desktop here, and it also works on a tablet, so your iPads and your students can use this for organization as well. Hope this helps, and enjoy using Google Keep.